I'm a professional. I'm a professional drinker. But for the past 50 years, it has just been gone. We're going to do another one because Steve likes the key of G, and so do I. Watch this. Oh, how he finds that hard, man. When she calls me, I'm gonna answer, Lord, 'cause I'm listening for my name. Yes, and I'm gonna be where I'm supposed to be. When love calls, if I live right, do what I'm supposed to do. When she calls my name, it's gonna come right on through. Yes, and I'm gonna be where I'm supposed to be when love calls. It's when you're running but really hiding, you'll find a love that will break your heart. When you're living right, standing in the light, you won't be long in the dark. Yes, I've known since I was a boy that you can't treat love like a throwaway toy. No, you just gotta be where you're supposed to be. Don't stop now. Don't stop now. Greg Johnson. Oh, man. when you're living right, standing in the light, you won't be long in the dark. Yes, I know. Since I was a boy, that you can't treat love like a throwaway toy. You just gotta be where you're supposed to be. You just gotta be where you're supposed to be. And I'm gonna be where I'm supposed to be when love calls. Got the love sign right there. When love calls. So we're going to have some enlightened words for you here, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to get out of the way.
Hi, my name is Ann Morrison, and I want to welcome everybody who's shown up here today. We're really appreciative of the fact that so many people have shown up. To start our program, we want to play a very short segment of music, and we're going to do that right now. This is from violinists in 29 countries around the world. What we just listened to was music from 94 musicians in quite a few countries across the entire world. That was a Ukrainian folk song, and it was done. The lead violinist was playing from a bomb shelter in Kiev. But this was a song that was assembled with all of these violinists through the internet. When they recorded it, they had to record it a number of times because the violinists in Kiev had to stop playing repeatedly because of the bombing, and the bombing was destroying their recording. So that's sort of the beginning. I was very impressed when I heard that music, to see so many musicians, so many violinists from all over the world unite and to show solidarity for Ukraine. And I'm very pleased to see so many people here who are here to show their solidarity for Ukraine as well. I can look around the crowd and I can see people that I know who are fairly conservative in their politics and who are very liberal in their politics. I see people I know who go to various different churches, and I see people who don't go to churches at all. And I appreciate that we have an assembly of so many people who've come out to show their support for Ukraine. Before we eat, my husband and I usually like to take a moment to stop and consciously recognize and acknowledge how fortunate we are. We live in a country where we have food, we have clean water, We have a warm house and a warm bed. We have friends and family. We have so many freedoms in this country, and among the other things that we have always listed is that we have lived our lives fundamentally free from the effects of war. So in the past 2 weeks, I think that the sort of tenor and the intensity of that recognition has changed as we see across the TV city after city being bombed. And I think it makes us, the two of us, and maybe all of us, realize even more acutely how fortunate that we are to live in a world where we've been experienced lives that are fundamentally free of war. So with that, I want to introduce Steve Clements, Mayor of Grande, and who will be up here in a minute.
A politician with his hand in the cookie jar.
Whoa, that was bad.
Real close.
Hey, thank you very much. Wonderful day to be here. I live on the north side of town, and I was walking in today. It struck me that it's a beautiful day, and we get to be outside enjoying it in safety. And that halfway around the world, there's another town, maybe very much like Grande, where people are sheltered and afraid for their lives. And that's really moving for me to know that we have the safety here that we do. So if you will, I prepared a very short statement. Before the invasion of Ukraine, I knew very little about that country, honestly. I know it's in Eastern Europe. It's near the Black Sea. I'm not sure I could have picked it out from other countries on a map. I know a lot more now. We all should know more now. I know that in the past, Ukraine has been brutalized by the USSR. That in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, 92% of Ukrainians voted for independence. 92% of that country voted to be independent of Russia. And even then, Russia and its leader, Putin, ran roughshod over Ukraine, interfering with elections, withholding natural gas as a weapon, and most recently annexing the Crimea. So Russia is not a nice neighbor to deal with. The present conflict is not the first time the Ukrainians have fought back against Russia, and we can really hope and pray this will be their last fight, that they will not have to contend with a neighbor that they have now. As I thought about today, I realized that Ukrainians are people like us. They know the value of freedom and liberty, and they are fighting to keep that liberty. They are people who have come together in a crisis to help and support their neighbors and other people that they may not know. They are people of faith who believe in powers greater than themselves. They are mothers and fathers, and their brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. And like us, they want happiness, they want good health, they want a good future, and they want a place that's safe and welcoming to live. So we're all here today to recognize and stand with those people, much like us, and pray as they struggle for the independence that they so much deserve. And I think I heard Ann say this a little earlier. Just take a moment and appreciate what we have as a people in this country, in the community, and in our neighborhoods. So I really do thank you for being here and for supporting the Ukrainian people. God bless you all.
Slava Ukraini. That's a phrase that was illegal during the times that Russia has occupied Ukraine, early and late in the 20th century. It means glory to you. Famine of 1932 to 33 was not the result of a natural disaster, but of Stalin's insistence that collective farms would do better than the Ukrainian farmers. When resisting farmers were brutally forced into submission, the resultant famine killed 3.9 million Ukrainians. That's 13% of the population. The Ukrainians called that the Holodomor, which is a mix of two Ukrainian and to inflict death, which came to mean murder by starvation. Stalin tried to stamp out Ukrainian identity as a nation by killing as many as he could and shipping others off to Siberian labor camps. Now it appears that Vladimir Putin, no less a villain than Stalin, is trying to reenact the same crime against humanity 90 years later. So who are these people, the Ukrainians? How have they survived such atrocities? And why would they not welcome a Russian dictatorship back to tell them how to live every day of their lives and how much food they raise that they can keep to feed their families? Kiev officially celebrates 482 AD as its founding year, but there is evidence that the city dwelling was there as far back as 2,000 years ago, and archaeological evidence of settlements as far back as 25,000 years. For comparison, the first history book mention of Moscow is the year 1147 AD. In other words, Kiev was already a thriving metropolis when Moscow was nothing but a puddle where two livestock trails in Ukraine that treats birth defects. Their hospital has been bombed, but they are still caring for the little patients in temporary shelters. That's the positive news. This is who the Ukrainians are. They are a vanguard of the free world against totalitarian aggression. Aggression from people who do not recognize borders or nations. In spite of Russia's superior military numbers and equipment, Ukrainians have put up a considerable defense because they know what life would be like under Russian control again. Are they the canary in the coal mine? I hope not, because generally the canary dies. According to Marxist doctrine, the only border to be recognized is that of a socialist dictatorship's borders ever expanding until the whole world comes under a glorious socialist globalist dominion. Marxists never want to stabilize borders. That is why the Marxists around the world claim that borders are not important. Let me add a letter that my brother received from a high school English teacher in Uzhhorod, Ukraine, which is a sister city with Corvallis where he lives. They've had a relationship with that city for 30 years. Here is the letter from this high school teacher. It is midnight here, but I can't sleep. My son and his family hosted 11 displaced persons from the east, and I hosted 3 more people tonight and their dog. The family, including a woman and her husband and their mother, stayed with me, while their 2 daughters and their friends, a university professor of English with his wife and others, were at my son's apartment. My heart aches, and I am grief-stricken for how these people feel leaving their beautiful city of Kharkiv and their homes. They were so proud of all the renovations, constructions, parks, and restoration of historic buildings that had been done recently. Now it is all bombed to rubble and ruins. How could these bastards do this to innocent people? Her words, not mine. And how could they kill children and women? I can't comprehend how in the 21st century it can happen with no explanation for this violence, aggression, and cruelty. I understand that Putin is a psychopath, but I am proud of my country's citizens' army and am absolutely sure we will win. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Love from Catherine. And that is why we should do what we can to help Ukraine. Here in Grande, Oregon, we don't have the ability to provide air support to close the skies, to protect them from indiscriminate bombing of cities where civilians live, but we can do something. We can let our leaders know that we will gladly pay more for gas and drive around a little less in order to stop buying fuel from Russian oil wells. We should do whatever we can to stop Putin's Hitlerian march across Eastern Europe, possibly Finland and the Baltic states. We can tighten our belts, as Americans did during World War I and II. We can ask ourselves if paying more for gas and driving less is worth the life of a child or the bombing of hospitals. We can show that the good life in the United States of America has not softened us to the point where we will stay in front of our large and small screens eating potato chips while socialist dictators pull the plush, soft rug out from under us. In short, war on Ukraine is war on the rest of the free world. We must unite in solidarity with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
These two Russians walk into a bar. And have you got another speaker that's on the way? Okay.
Our next speaker is Paul Anders. I don't know where he is, but I'm assuming he will hear his name. And come.
Beautiful day, isn't it? I would very briefly like to talk about two different themes that may seem a little bit unusual when I start. One is thankfulness and the other one is hope. I'm thankful for the organizers. I'm thankful for them inviting me. I'm thankful for you, the people that came here to show your care for humans halfway around the world. Very thankful for that. Thankful that we can gather in peace. Thankful that we've seemed to have overcome the divide that has torn our nation apart for so long and come together united to support the people of Ukraine. And hopeful that this conflict ends soon. Hopeful that civilians, especially the children, can escape to safety quickly. Hopeful that the world has an outpouring of humanitarian aid, much like you folks are doing today. But I am most hopeful that when this is over, we never see a tragedy like this again. I hope that one day we can all live in peace. Thank you.
She has been doing work to help with refugees in Ukraine, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what she's been doing.
Thank you. I got pulled into this really unexpectedly. I am from here, but I spent 22 years living in the Czech Republic, just a little bit west of where this conflict is happening, and I spent some time in Ukraine as a journalist, and later to go bike riding and hiking in the beautiful mountains. I mean, this was our next door neighbors who were nice, and we went up in the mountains and went hiking because they had really nice mountains around that place Uzhgorod that one of the previous speakers here was talking about. And so for me, it's particularly difficult. You know, I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, ready to make breakfast and get my son ready for his Little League tryouts, and I get a message from the organization I'm working with to help refugees. And what I'm doing with this organization is helping plan routes through dangerous areas, because I have experience in conflict areas in the Balkans, in like Kosovo and places you've also probably heard of. And so they said, we don't have anybody available right now who can do the map work. We had a route going through this place called Uman, and we need a route on the back roads, but we need it to be a real road, not off-road, because it's a minibus, So I, instead of making breakfast, I spent an hour making a map, but there's real people in a minibus right at that time waiting for us to send them the information. I had several people working on figuring out where the bombing attacks had happened, and we have translators who are translating the information to them, because I can read the map and I understand the language. I'm not quite good enough to be a translator for them, but I can actually read the letters. They have different letters in Ukrainian than we do, and I've had experience with figuring out how to deal with those things in that kind of area. So that was my morning this morning, and it's every day pretty much now. And we're primarily evacuating children from orphanages, people with disabilities or just families with children who don't have their own car. Because when you see all those people on the border in the images that you see on the news, they're pretty much the lucky ones, because that's 2.5 million people have left the borders of Ukraine now, but there's 44 million people in the country, and many more millions in the areas that are directly threatened or under attack. Many of them don't have their own vehicles, and so these are drivers who are risking their lives to drive to the places that are threatened, and then to drive the most vulnerable people out, usually not even to a foreign country, but to something like the western cities that are somewhat more safer at this point. They're also bringing in, there's some of these people you see over here on the board where people from our churches are donating to some other groups that are bringing humanitarian aid to the western cities. So I know it's difficult to see this from a distance, but there are things that we can do, and if anybody would like to help with a volunteer type of thing, we are looking for other volunteers that can just do something online. And thank you.
Now I'm looking for Mike Burton, who's going to come up and read a psalm for us.
Okay, this is the part where I pray for all your money and your plastic to levitate to the table over here run by Wes and Marie. Well, actually, that's not my job. And I believe that God works through normal means, and you folks are the normal means. So I do encourage you to address the physical needs of the people of Ukraine and also the spiritual needs. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. I'm reading today from the book of Psalms, Psalm 55, written by King David. If you know about King David, he spent some time in a cave hiding from his enemies. He was often besieged by war. And so these are the sentiments which he expressed in the Psalms. It is titled, Cast Your Burden on the Lord. Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my plea for mercy. Attend to me, answer me. I am restless in my complaint, and I moan. Because the noise of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they drop trouble upon me, and in anger they bear a grudge against me. My heart is in anguish within me, the terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror overwhelms me. And I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. Yes, I would wander far away, I would lodge in the wilderness. I would hurry to find shelter from raging wind and tempest. Destroy, O Lord, divide their tongues, for I see violence and strife in the city. Day and night they go around it on its walls, and iniquity and trouble are within it, ruin is in its midst. Oppression and fraud do not depart from its marketplace. For it is not an enemy who turns against me, then I could bear it. It is not an adversary who deals insolent with me, then I could hide from him. But it is you, a man, my equal, my companion, my familiar friend. We used to take sweet counsel together within God's house and walk among the throng. Let death steal over them and let them go down to Sheol alive, for evil is in their dwelling place and in their heart. But I call to God, and the Lord will save me. Evening and morning and at noon, I utter my complaint and moan, and he hears my voice. He redeems my soul in safety from the battle that I wage. For many are arrayed against me. God will give ear and humble them who he is enthroned from of old, because they do not change and do not fear God. My companion stretched out his hand against his friends. He violated his covenant. His speech was smooth as butter, yet war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn words. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved. But you, O God, will cast them down and into the pit of destruction. Men of blood and treachery shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in you. So this is what my wife and I are praying for the people of Ukraine. Does it not describe the situation that they are in? Very well, unfortunately. Now I would like to lead those of you who would like to pray with me in a prayer for the people of Ukraine. Let's pray. Father, we lift up the children, the orphanages, the hospitals, the schools, homes, and guard the hearts of the children. Pray for protection for mothers and fathers who are themselves protecting their families. We pray for the soldiers and civilians fighting to defend their cities, their churches, and their homes. Supply their needs both physically and spiritually. Give them peace in life and in their hearts, that they may seek comfort in you. Thwart the efforts of their enemies who seek to kill and control. Stop their attacks from the air, the land, and the sea. Cause a revolt among the soldiers against the aggression of their leaders and turn their hearts. For the people of Russia, turn their hearts against the aggression of their leaders. Protect those who protest and speak against this war and crime. Turn their hearts to their family, friends, countrymen, and you. Cause the military to turn and refuse to fight. For the people of Poland, we pray that you would bless these people who have willingly stepped in, and for those neighboring countries who step in to help the oppressed people of Ukraine. Comfort the refugees. Provide for all of their needs. Let the people of the free world band together to help all in need, to give freely and generously from a clear conscience. Restrain those leaders throughout the world set on ill-gotten gain from the sorrow of the oppressed, and do not prosper them. Finally, cause your people to cast our burdens on you and to be comfort in all circumstances, for you care for us. Please gather continually and pray for these people, as we're doing in our home with a group of our friends this evening. We're going to gather and we're going to pray things like this for the people of Ukraine, that they may be able to see sunshine on their face and peace. Thank you.
I would like to thank Mike Burton for that. Brent Clapp is here, and he's told me that he has on the Oregon Alive.
EO Alive.
Sorry, EO Alive program. He has done an hour-long interview with a woman that's available to be seen on that site. And that is something that might be really interesting. So it's an interview with a woman in Ukraine, and he actually can tell you a little bit more about it if he wants to.
So it's EO Alive TV, and that's on Facebook and YouTube, and on Roku, if you want to watch it that way. And this last Thursday morning, we did a live interview with Z Gamon is her name. She's a 36-year-old with 2 kids. She's living with her mom right now because her husband is fighting in the resistance. And we have surprisingly really great internet connection, but it's just a very good, moving interview. They talked about the night before, she had 4 times when they had a siren alarm and they had to get up and move to a bomb shelter, and it was just a great interview. So thank you.
I would like to thank everybody who's shown up here today. I think it's very significant that we have people from all parts of the community here today to show their support for Ukraine. We are asking that the people who are here not just leave this rally, because anybody who's watching TV can see that if the Russians decided to pull out of Ukraine today, the country is nevertheless devastated. It has been so destroyed by what the Russians have done. So this is going to be an ongoing need, and we are asking people to think about the ways that they might be able to continue to contribute, whether that would be a monthly withdrawal from one of their accounts to a charity or group that is working in Ukraine, whether that is talking to people in their own churches about this, and perhaps having this be an issue that the churches address as well. And I think that that's basically what I have to say. But I appreciate everybody being here. It's very uplifting to see so many people who are here and who are concerned about what's going on in a country far across the world. Thank you.
It's Ann Morrison. Give her a big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Don't go running off. We need you to sing along on a tune here. Hang on just a second.
Peggy Haney, get down here and sing this. Come here.
Let's have a big hand for Peggy Haney. She makes her way to the stage. That's the only reason she'll even come is because you clap. Get over here. What's good?
Yep. You know, Ann is right. This is great to see everybody from the community here. I mean, when you can get conservatives and liberals together and go for one thing all together, it's like dogs and cats sleeping together. It's a good thing. This is a song about unity.
Almost there.
All right.
Finish that joke about the 2 Russians walking into a bar.
2 Russians walking into a bar. I was born about 5 years after Hitler. And so I know how that went down. And he's doing a Hitler, that man in the Kremlin. And so I'm sort of, in my spare time, looking for 007 to go in there and do one of the things that they do in those movies, where he can say, I got nukes, and they say, never mind, it doesn't matter, because he'll always have nukes, and they need to take him down. And there's my military remarks for the day.
Is that the right
I was standing by my window on a cold and cloudy day. Come on, join me. When I saw the undertaker gonna come take my mom away. Everyone, the circle be unbroken. By and by, Lord, by and by. Better home waiting in the sky, in the sky. I followed close behind him, try to cheer up and be brave. 'Cause I know that on the
all shook up. Oh, hey, hey, yeah. And now please don't ask me what's on my mind. I'm getting mixed up, but I'm feeling fine. When I'm with a girl that I love best, my heart beats so that it scares me to death. Would you touch my hand? What did you like? Got her lips are like a volcano that's hot. Now I'm proud to say that you're my buttercup. I'm in love, but I'm all shook up. Oh, oh, hey, hey, tear it up now, y'all. But I'm a feeling fine when I'm with a girl that I love best. My heart beats so that it scares me to death. If you touch my hand, what would you like? Got lips are like a volcano that's hot. Now I'm proud to say that you're my buttercup. I'm in love, I'm all shook up. Oh, oh, hey, hey, yeah. Oh, oh, hey, yeah. I'm all shook up. Oh, yeah. I saw those toes tapping. We need toes tapping these days, boy, I'll tell you. And we had our own Jordanaire, Steve Campbell, back there singing.